class. So this is the part of math that you're not required to do. You have a choice. You can do 30 minutes of IXL or you can do this video. Totally up to you. But this video will be a little bit more challenging. So let's begin. Our first Select Diamond question says, Kayla, Josephine raised together $154,098. Derek and Josephine raised $234,845. Josephine raised by herself $86,098. How much did Kayla, Josephine, and Derek raise in total? So the first step, we take a deep breath. Second step, we slash the trash. This one's actually pretty confusing, and actually if you finish any question and you're like, there's no trash that I can slash, that's totally fine. And especially if a question is confusing like this, you don't want to accidentally slash something that might be important. Third step, we're going to identify the cues. So I'm seeing a lot of like togethers and by herself, which are important. So I'm going to circle and highlight in my version by herself, in total, because total means add. Though I see here we're going to have to do some subtracting. So make sure you highlight together, by herself, total. Those are the kind of cue words we have here. Next step in the Mrs. Benavides method is we underline the question. So the question here is, how much did Kayla, Josephine, and Derek raise in total? Which students who are rushing, you know who you are, would probably not slow down and realize that the answer to this question is not just to add all these numbers together. It's much more complicated than that. So, next, we're going to make a list of all the numbers. And so I'm actually going to do my bar diagram at the same time as I'm making my list of the numbers. So I'm going to combine steps 5 and 6 because I think it's going to be easier to make my list of numbers visually, because a lot of times students will get confused, like who's with who, who's not with who. So my first bar that I'm going to draw is the first part of my question. So Kayla and Josephine raised together $154,098. So I'm just going to write C plus J, and I'm going to write underneath this total amount is 154. Oops, I drew my 5 backwards. $54,098. That's a lot of money. All right, so this is my first bar diagram. C plus J, this is my total amount. I don't have a line here because I don't know how much is Josephina's and how much is Kayla's. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, Derek and Josephina. So D plus J is equal to, and again, I'm not drawing that line because I don't know how much each person raised. So Derek and Josephina raised more than Josephina and Kayla. They raised $234,845. All right. So this is what my bar diagram should look like so far. Even if you're totally lost and confused and you just write down this bar diagram, so far you're going to be on the right track. So now it says Josephine raised by herself $86,098. The temptation here is to add another bar diagram underneath, which you're of course welcome to do always. But I'm noticing that my first one says Kayla plus Josephine, and my second one says Derek plus Josephine. So now I can actually plug in Josephine to my previous bar diagrams because I know how much Josephine made. So I'm going to go put a line, and I'm going to go, Josephine's is $86,098. So this is what your bar diagram should kind of look like. Now, just to recap what I've done here. C plus J, right? Kayla plus Josephine is $154,098. We know that Josephine is this amount. So we know the total and we know one of the parts. And so when we see a bar diagram like this, we should tell ourselves, oh, to get the remaining, I need to go big minus little will give me the remainder. Total minus the part will give me the remainder. Total minus the part will give me the remainder. And I see the same thing down here. Why do I have this number twice? Because Josephine was added into both of these totals. So Derek plus Josephine raised $234,085. Josephine by herself, still the same amount, is $86,098. Total minus the part will give me the remainder. So what we have to do is just subtract now. So we're going to do $154,098 minus $86,098. Yes. So 8 minus 8 is 0. My expectation is that you're doing this on your own. 9 minus 9 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 4 minus 6, can't do. So we cross off the 4, we cross off the 5. The 5 loses one of its 10,000s, so that becomes a 4. We give that to our 4, so that becomes 14. 14 minus 6 is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 8. So then we have 4 minus 8, still can't do that, so I'm borrowing from my 100,000s. That becomes a 0, this becomes a 14. 14 minus 8 is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 6. So my answer here is 68,000. Hopefully you got the same answer. So I'm going to plug my 68,000. So what do I know now? I know that Josephine raised $86,098. Already knew that. I know Kayla now raised $68,000. Okay, so now I need to figure out how much Derek raised. So to find Derek's, I'm going to take my total minus the part to figure out the remainder. So I have 234,845 minus 86,098. Again, my expectation is you're doing this on your own with me. So 5 minus 8 can't do, need to borrow from the 4. My 4 becomes a 3. My 5 becomes a 15. 8 counting up to 15 is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 7. 3 minus 9 can't do it, need to borrow from the 8. My 8 becomes a 7. So my 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 9, let's count up from 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. My answer is 4. 7 minus 0 is 0. 4 minus 6 can't do, we borrow from the 3 becomes a 2. My 4 becomes a 14. Counting it from 6 to 14, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. My answer is 8. 2 minus 8 can't do, that becomes a 12. My 100,000s becomes a 1. 12 minus 8, counting up from 8 to 12, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4. And then 1 minus nothing is 1. So if you're following along with me, your answer should be 148,047. Okay, so this is kind of what our bar diagram should look like now. So basically what we need to do is we need to add together how much Kayla plus Josephine plus Derek earned. This is the important thing. A lot of students will think they're done because they'll think this is the same question we were answering before, but we actually still need to add these all together. So if we add them all together, Kayla raised $68,000, Josephine raised $86,098, and Derek raised $148,747. Oops, I accidentally did that wrong. So their total, they should have raised $302,845. So you need to do the rest of these in the same kind of fashion. I'm going to pause for a while on this screen so that you should be able to, if you're skipping IXL, do the rest of these on their own. This should be a pretty big challenge, but I know that you're up to it. So now moving on to our double black diamond, which is a beast. I'm going to do the first one with you. 2 and 3 are yours to do by yourself. Julian, Andy, Katerina, and Leaky are playing a board game. These are actually all groomsmen and bridesmaids in my wedding. Julian and Andy combined have twice as many points as Katerina and Leaky combined. Leaky has exactly half as many points as Katerina. Katerina has 13,978 points. Julian has 10,000 more points than Leaky. How many points does Andy have? Woo! Take a deep breath in. I cannot stress enough how much taking a deep breath before difficult math problems really helps. I know it sounds cheesy. I know it sounds like, flower power, whatever, but it really scientifically helps. And I so encourage you to take that with you to 6th, 7th, 8th grade and beyond. So now that I've gotten off my, soapbox of public information, Let's do the second step. The second step is to cross off the trash. No trash here. Third step, let's underline the keywords. There's actually so many keywords here that I don't think that's a useful step. Let's underline the question. The question is, how many points does Andy have? So Andy's the really important person here. Now we're going to make a list of the numbers. Just like I did with a regular black diamond, I'm going to make my list of numbers at the same time that I'm creating my bar diagram. With these kinds of questions, you really need to ask yourself, what can I figure out? A lot of students get frustrated because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to find Andy. Figure out what you can find out. Where can you go? And usually that will get you to a point where you can figure out the answer. So the first thing I notice is that they're playing a board game. I could probably cross off that first sentence, by the way. Julian and Andy combined have twice as many points as Katerina and Leaky combined. I'm going to draw that in my bar diagram now. So here you see I have Julian and Andy. They have a big box that's twice as big as Katerina and Leaky. All right, so this part is a little confusing. It says Leaky has exactly half as many points as Katerina. So if we think about this with quarters, right? If we have $1 in total, if we split it 50-50, that'd be 50 cents and 50 cents. If Katerina has twice as much as Leaky, that means Katerina has to have 50 cents for Leaky's 25 cents, okay? So it doesn't make sense in fourths. What does make sense is to divide this up into thirds. Now, Katerina has twice as many boxes as Leaky, right? So when I divide it into thirds, Katerina has twice as many boxes as Leaky. Leaky is the one with stripes. We're not even worried about J plus A right now. We're just focusing on Katerina plus Leaky. Coming back to my problem, I see that Katerina has 13,978 points. Great, now that I have a spot for Katerina alone, and this goes back to algebra, isolating that variable, I can write in how much she has. She has 13,978 points. So this is what that looks like. But now, this is going back to that original strategy of how can I figure out what I already know? So I know that Leaky has half as much as Katerina. So how can I figure out half? Divide by 2. So take this number, divide by 2, pause this video, and meet me back in a second. So if you did that correctly, your answer, if we divided 13,978 by 2, it's 6,989. So now I know that Leaky has 6,989. You might be like, Mrs. Benavides, we've done all this work and none of this has to do with Andy. I thought Andy was the only one that was important. Well, now we're going to see. Let's go back to our question. So the next part says, Julian has 10,000 more points than Leaky. So now that we know Leaky's, we can add 10,000 points to what Leaky has. So what is 6,989 plus 10,000? It would be, 16,989. So now we're getting closer, right? Let's go back to our problem. So now how do we get to figure out how much does Andy have? So we know that together, Andy and Julian have twice as much as Katerina and Leaky. We have to go back to that first sentence. So we need to figure out how much Katerina and Leaky have together. So we need to add 13,978 plus 6,989, right? And let me just show this to you. We need to add these two numbers together because then we'll know how much half of this one is. So let's do that. So the answer to that is 20,967. That's this whole bottom bar diagram. To figure out the total for this top, I need to multiply that by 2. Let's do that now. Pause and come back when you're ready. That number is 41,934. So now I have my total minus my part will give me the remainder, which is my Andy. Yay, we're almost at the done. So minus 41,934 minus 16,989. So my final answer for Andy is 24,945. Let's check our answer keys. So pause on this page. You need to solve 2 and 3 to skip IXL. Here are my answers. And let me kind of zoom in on because I did the work with it. So pause here if you want this one. That's kind of the rest of this one. And pause here if you need the work and answers for the remaining. Thank you for working so hard and challenging yourself. I'll see